Hi, you're welcome back. Video 11C, Money, Banks and Pensions. I'm taking a break away from the farm and it's Sunday morning, the 8th of December, and it's wintry, and I have a coal fire going here with a few blocks in it, and I'm supposed to feel guilty. This is the way it's gone nowadays. Anyway, I want to just deal with the subject of pensions and how they're connected with the banking system. And as you can see, it's 11C, and I don't have my poster here, but this is real true educational, not fake news, and centred at Doonaree, which is Kingsford in Cavan in Ireland. So I just don't have the poster. It's real true education, not fake news. So it's real, it's to do with banking, and that's real. So the next thing then is, we're living strange times financially. You have negative interest rates which were never seen before. The Irish government had to pay 170 million euros in order to have their money minded for them in the banks. All the experts, global financial experts, all agree that there's something very wrong. And we have mad renewable energy. We have billions being pumped into wind farms and etc., which can never pay back their principal sum. It's unbelievable stuff. And then we have this idea of ending fossil fuel, and we're all going to fry, and all this trap going on. And the one thing I differ a little from all of the global experts in economics is that I say you have to factor in the climate change and the deliberate attempt to drive industry out of the Western societies. They don't see that yet, but I think that's a factor, but it's not everything to do with it. So there's weird happenings. And there's silence. For example, there's a spike in the repro market. Now, I wouldn't expect you to understand that. There's a spike in the repro market at the moment, and that should lead to a particular activity. The very same as if the price of cattle doubled for a week tomorrow. You'd expect me to bring out my little bulls and sell them during that period, and they're not doing it. And we think that they know a lot more than they're letting on. But I don't want to predict a crash as of yet. Now, we have the largest debt crisis ever known in the history of the human race, and it's now spilling over into real estate, and it's into quantitative easing, which is printing money, and it's the biggest debt bubble ever, that's for sure. It's the biggest debt bubble ever. And yeah, there's something not right, but there's no need to go on that. Now, I want to go into the effect on pensions, on what pensions are. What's the types of pensions? If you work for a private company, some company like might be Gypsum Industries, it could be Kingspan around here, it could be Manor Farm Chicks, it could be anything, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. There's two types of pension. There's defined benefit and defined contribution. Defined benefit, the amount you get out paid to you is clearly stated, and defined contribution is the opposite. It's what you pay in. Now, you can clearly see, if you have a brain in your head at all, it's the defined benefit you want. You're guaranteed what you get out of it, whereas the other one, you're guaranteed how much you have to pay in. Now, a lot of the defined benefit pensions was sold years ago, and if they had to know what they were getting into, they wouldn't have done it, because at that time these companies were trading normally. They were trading normally and they were making money. Now, they're not doing well. There is companies doing well, but there's something wrong. So what's happening now is that companies that are carrying these defined benefit and contribution, such as Irish Life, Canada Life, I only name them because I know them, there's several others, they're now trying to get people who have defined benefit pensions to shift over to defined contribution. And the unions are complicit in this. Now, I can't be held accountable for legal advice I give, but I'm telling you this, if I had a defined benefit pension, I would refuse point blank to have it converted to a defined contribution. Why should you give up a defined benefit contribution pension, a defined benefit pension for a defined contribution when they can pay you what they like? Okay, so that's my advice on that. Now, the public service, they have a pension which is paid by the government. It's part of it's part of the conditions of service. And I mentioned Board Namona, which is semi-state, not strictly government, and I was right. I told you that the unions and that the Board Namona failed to provide any pension for their people. And up at the farmers' protest, I mentioned this, and 4 or 5 farmers said it was wrong. The Board Namona staff are getting pensions. And one man came over from down in the Midlands, and he said, "You're right." He says, "I have a cousin who works for Board Namona, and they have no pension provision whatsoever." So I was right in that, and he bore me out. So now things like the Gardaí, the prison service, prison officers and all that, they had a defined benefit pension, and it was usually, I don't have the leaflet here, it was usually 51%, or about that, of the serving member's pension. So a serving prison officer got a rise of 2%, you got 1% if you were a pensioner. Now, that was the connection. There was known as parity. Now, I had it written here, I don't know where it is, as parity. But anyway, the point about it is that parity was broken in 2008 with the crash of the world economy in 2008 with Lehman Brothers and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all that. So parity has been broken. So I had to pause there just to find the leaflet. So 51% roughly is what Gardaí pensioners and prison officers and custom people and all that civil service should get. But in 2008 they broke that parity, that's the key, and they used the economic collapse as an excuse. And there was also a levy imposed on everybody in the country. Now that's what was imposed to deal with the economic collapse. They then come along and they use that to cut the parity between the pay of the public servant pensioner and the pay of the serving member. And that meant that if you had a strike by Gardaí or some industrial action or by civil service or whatever, to get a rise, if things was bad, or nurses or whatever, and they got a rise of 6%, then the pensioner got 3%. Okay, that was the situation. That's gone. They can now give you what they like. And I blame the unions. Why didn't the unions go and do something about it? Why didn't they do something? Now, what can you do? Well, the first thing is go back to number 4, the law of contract. Offer, acceptance, intention to create legal relations. And that's the law of contract. So go back and look at that. And you see that they cannot break a contract. Now, there's a principle of estoppel, permissory estoppel. If you have a contract and you act on your part, you go into a garage and you buy a car at 20,000 and you then sell your own and you have no way of getting to work and you go up to get the car on Monday morning and they won't give it to you. They want 30,000. That's a breach of contract, and you can sue for breach of contract. And either unions or any particular member, or they could have picked a particular member and went to court and they'd have to win on that. It affected judges, it affected everybody. So they actually had to have a referendum on judges' pay. That'll tell you how difficult it is to cut these things. But of course nobody ever did anything, and there's nothing stopping any individual retiring prison officer or guard or army man or anyone like that from taking a judicial review on that law that was brought in, that Finance Act that was put in there. But no one did it. I took judicial reviews on planning and I won one and I didn't lose. I lost the other, but I didn't have to pay any expenses. So it can be done. But why didn't the unions come along and take a judicial review on that? Why don't they still do it yet? Now, one thing I will not tell you is if it's time limited. Maybe it's out of time, I don't know. But I think it's unbelievable. And all of these unions, and they're on the television and they're talking and they're blathering on and they've their gold chip cards and they get big extra bonuses and they get everything. And they were unable to get proper legal advice. Now, some of the union people try to tell me, oh, I'm wrong. Look, there's contract law, there's a law of promissory estoppel. They cannot, if you work for 33 or 4 years in the prison service or the Gardaí or whatever, and you believe you're getting this connected pension, this parity pension, and you work on that basis, no one can take that out of you. That's contrary to the Constitution. They cannot take that away. It's a matter of fighting it. And every day I see ways where I could change the benefit to people's lives by taking judicial reviews, and I'd have to win. But it's just, it takes time. I can't be everywhere. I mean, I have to prioritise with my environment at the moment. I can't be everywhere. So now you know, folks, there's defined benefit, defined contribution. And in some cases, when I help people to keep the defined benefit pension, the company tries to lay them off. They try to get rid of them, make them redundant. So you want to watch for that. Especially a weak company, they might start laying you off. So this is the insidious way they work. You look for your rights and they think about sacking you. Now don't forget, if a new company buys over your company, the Frankovic case, Francovish, I think it is. It's an Italian case. It's an EU Court of Justice law. They cannot change their terms of employment by changing the company, by changing the ownership of the company. And I have used that and advised people on it, and it's worked. They can't do it. So don't listen to this baloney. Oh, a new company now, there's a new crowd in. They can't do it. Full stop. The Frankovich case. You have to keep your terms of employment. So what they might do is try and lay you off, and that's another day's work. So I hope I've explained that to you now. Keep your defined benefit pension. They'll tell you, oh, we have to spread it out. Other people in the factory don't have it, so you have to give up yours. That's their problem. That's their problem. They should have looked about it. If I tried to tell them that 30 years ago, they'd laugh. They'd laugh. But that's the reality. Keep your defined benefit pension, and if you're a public servant, consider taking a judicial review or legal action to get back your parity of pension. Consider doing it. There's enough of big retired superintendents and chief superintendents and big fellas all over the place, and none of them is up to speed on this. It's bloody time that they got up to speed. It's bloody time that the unions done something for their money and restored what we're entitled to, the parity of pensions in the public service, and keep your defined benefit, if you have it, in the private service. And I can tell you that there'll be no more defined benefit pensions. They will not be available for ordinary people anymore. So if you have it, it's precious. Let Irish Life and Canada Life and all these companies, let them worry where they get the money. That's their problem. That's not your problem. Okay, so thank you very much, and I want to have Sunday morning here, and there's a bit of heat, and we're using a bit of coal, and thank everybody, members of my family, for putting up with me while I make this video. So good luck now, and we'll see you. Bye.